My name is Ashley Ahrens, and I've been with Jamf for 7 years. I'm a Senior Inside Account Executive for our Northeast Higher Education team with a focus on renewals and strategic planning. I'm so excited to be part of the community and Jamf family and feel really honored to be with you here today for this lab.
Hello, my name is Kelly Watkins Conrad. I'm a field sales engineer for the Central Higher Education team, and I've been at Jamf for almost 9 years now, and I have the best job at Jamf, and I'm so excited to share with you some really awesome tools a little later in this presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. So during today's lab, we're going to be exploring some of the features of Jamf School through the Jamf School console, as well as the applications that support it. These applications include the Jamf School Teacher App, the Jamf School Student App, and the Jamf School Parent App. Although we're not together in person for this session, our goal is to give you as close to an interactive experience as possible. We're hoping to accomplish this in a couple of ways. First, if you were able to gather the necessary tools listed in the session's description ahead of time, you'll need the following. You'll need your own instance of Jamf School with an APN certificate. You'll also need 2 iPads, one to represent a student device, the other for a parent and teacher device. Please make sure that you have the Jamf Student, Jamf Teacher, and Jamf Parent apps deployed to these devices from the Jamf School console before we begin. We're also going to need the Zoom app deployed to both iPads. Lastly, you'll need a class configured that was created in Jamf School for both the teacher and student device. There are also a few settings that need to be configured within the Jamf School console in order to properly follow along. So under Settings, Jamf Parent and Jamf Teacher need to have all features enabled. Let's also make sure that Jamf Student has all features and notification settings enabled as well. Finally, we want to allow parent devices to use a QR code in order to pair with the student device. If you don't have these things in front of you or don't have access to the necessary tools, it's no problem. We'll be walking through the various features and functionality of Jamf School together, and we'll do our best today to make you feel as though you're completing the guided steps yourself. So, with that, let's go ahead and get started. So first, if you have your Jamf School console, go ahead and log in. When you first log in, you're presented with a clean and easy to read dashboard. This is completely customizable and gives you quick access to information that's most relevant to you. On the left-hand side, we have a navigation bar with a variety of tabs that are clearly marked to navigate between device information, enrollment options, profiles, documents, and more. We'll be diving into some of these options during the lab today. Now that we have an idea as to where we can find certain information from the home page, let's discuss how to get our devices enrolled so we can start taking advantage of the amazing features that Jamf School has to offer. So, to begin, let's scroll over to the left-hand side onto the navigation bar. We're going to select Devices and then scroll down to DEP. Here you can see we currently have 2 iPads that are eligible for enrollment. This page also provides us with various information about the eligible devices, including things like model, serial number, name of the device, etc. So now we're going to create a DEP profile together. On the top right in blue, select DEP Profiles. Once selected, this brings us to a page with some options of which types of profiles we would like to create, as well as a list of already configured profiles. You can see in this instance of Jamf School, for example, that we currently have 5 profiles that have been created. In this scenario, we're going to create a new DEP profile for iOS. Here you can see once selected the list of options to help customize the end user's experience once they have the device in hand. This includes selecting which setup steps you want to include or skip. Once everything's configured the way you'd like, we'll go ahead and save. There are a few things to take note of when creating a DEP profile. In order to fully take advantage of all the features that come with Jamf School, the device needs to be enrolled. Before configuring the enrollment, you will need to set up an account with Apple School Manager, which then integrates with Jamf School. Automated MDM enrollment is a powerful tool that provides a seamless and hands-off enrollment of the device into your Jamf School instance. For example, especially in the current climate we're all in, you need to ship an iPad to a student's home for remote learning. This student would be able to unbox a brand new device, power it on, and move through the customized setup assistant and be able to start using the iPad right away. This device will automatically be configured based off of the profile that was assigned and enrolled into your Jamf School instance. It's as awesome as it sounds and as easy as that. So, moving on, after the device is set up for enrollment, let's move on to organizing the iPad into a smart device group. Utilizing groups is a great way to categorize devices into classes, grade levels, faculty, staff, you name it. As we deploy different apps and profiles, this form of organization can be very beneficial and will help make your life as the admin much easier. So, in the Jamf School console, we're going to scroll to the left and open the Devices tab on the navigation bar. Here, we're going to add group. The Add Group button you can see is on the right-hand corner. So to create a customized group for our student devices. When we create a new group, you will see there are a lot of options on how we can organize the group, including name, description, and even an image if you'd like. Another important option to note is the type of group you would like to select. A smart group is defined by selecting a certain criteria that you want the devices to align with. We will take a look at this a little more in depth when we create the group. A static group is manually selecting the devices and assigning them to that group. So together, let's get started and we'll get the group created. So let's name the group My Group, and then we're going to select Smart. On the second page, we are presented with a few options again. Feel free to play around with this, but we're going to select Do Not Show and Next. The nice thing about creating groups is that we have options to customize the profiles, apps, and documents for these devices. Please know these options are not required when creating the group, but if you know you want them included ahead of time, we have the ability to do so during the setup. But for now, we'll skip these options. Okay, so far you're doing great. Let's continue and actually assign the devices under the Members tab. We're going to want to add a filter here. So in the green, go ahead and select Add Filter. Once this is chosen, we'll go select Is Supervised. Now, if everything's configured the way we want, we can finish. By assigning this criteria, the profile will look for all devices that are supervised and include them automatically within the group. Now that the group is completed, you will see the details of the group as well as the number of members that have been pulled in based off of the rules that we set. On the left-hand side, you'll notice a pane with additional information options as well. So if we were to scroll over and let's select Members, for example, this is going to provide us with a list of devices within the group for us to view. Next, we're going to configure a class for your teacher and his or her students together. Back at the home screen, let's head to the navigation bar and we're going to select Classes. There are a few options on how you can build a class. Classes can be created manually by selecting Add Class or within Apple School Manager. Within Apple School Manager, or often referred to as ASM, classes can be created from your student information system or using a SFTP server and uploading a CSV of the class. No matter how you set up the class, Jamf School can organize the students and teachers appropriately. On this page, you'll see a list of pre-configured classes with helpful information about each one. The last thing we'll do together in the Jamf School console is app deployment. So again, we're going to scroll over to the left-hand side and open Apps from the navigation bar. Here we're provided with a list of options to choose from depending on what the goal is. Here, for example, is where you can view requested apps. At this time, though, we're going to select Apps. Once on the Apps page, all of the apps that are currently available within your environment will be listed with information about each app. For this exercise, we're going to deploy the Facebook app to our students. So go ahead and select Facebook from the list of apps. In order to distribute the app to a specific group, we'll need to scroll down to the device group option. We're going to use the group we created together earlier within the console titled My Group. As you can see when selected, it's pulled in criteria that was defined as well when the group was created. Right now, it's showing us that the app is set to use a VPP license as well as automatically install on the device. Here within this box as well, on the top left corner of the group option, there's some options to adjust the deployment method specifically within the app if needed. How you deploy an app is entirely up to you, and most likely will vary depending on the app, teacher, class, and student. Thankfully, though, we have options and the ability to completely customize the deployment for each app if needed. So, if everything looks good, let's save. Once we have everything configured properly, the devices listed within the group will have access to the Facebook app as assigned. Now I'm going to pass the ball to Kelly, who's going to dive into the Jamf Teacher App with you. Again, if you're following along with tools in hand, now is the time to grab your iPad.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. We can empower our teachers with the Jamf Teacher application. This allows them to take control of the student iPads to help them focus and stay on task, while also providing valuable content and experiences that are only available on an iPad. Here's a teacher iPad that I've already set up. Let's go ahead and open the teacher application and take a look together. You'll notice that we have several items in here: classes, lessons, messages, my resources, app updates, and help guides. We're going to be getting to all this wonderful content, but first, let's go ahead and start with classes. In here, we have two types of classes that show up. We have My Classes, which are locally and immediately created on the teacher iPad, as well as Manage Classes, which come over from your Jamf School instance. What I'd like to do is actually go into one of these classes, so you can see not only all of your students have been populated, but we also have buttons along the top that we can take action on as a class as a whole. Remote Class, Start Lesson, Clear Restrictions, Restrictions, App Lock, and Web Lock. Let's go ahead and take a look at Web Lock. This allows us as a teacher to send out a link to lock our students into for 10 minutes in this example. Let's go ahead and check out another feature of the Jamf Teacher application. Here we have App Lock, very similar to Web Lock, with applications that we can lock our student into for a set period of time. Next, we have Restrictions, which allows or disallows certain app categories and or device functionality, like maybe the camera on your student's iPad. Next, we have Clear Restrictions, which clears all the restrictions on the student iPad. And then after that, we have Start Lesson and Remote Class. We're not getting into those just yet, but we'll be getting to those a little bit later in this session today. What I'd like to do next is take a look at what we can do to students individually. Here, I've selected student 21. We have several different functionalities in here that may look familiar, but some of them may be new. We have Remote Class, which allows for a one-on-one virtual session with that student. Start Lesson, which allows us to start a lesson with that student. Then we have our trusty App Lock and Web Lock, which are going to be the exact same as what we just saw. But we have something new here, Clear Passcode. I'm sure it's never happened where you've had one of your students has a friend that grabs their iPad, puts in a different passcode, and now that student can't get to work. Instead of that being a huge problem and a time waster, you now have the ability to clear that passcode, so it's no longer something IT needs to be involved with. We also have the attention button, which allows us to lock the iPad so that the student has to pay attention to any directions that you're giving as a teacher. Then we have restrictions, clear restrictions, which are the same as what we just saw. And then we also have install apps, which allows you as a teacher to push applications that the student may not have, as well as messages, which allows you as a teacher to have a one-on-one conversation with your student. As you can see, we have a lot of various options that are both unique and the same as what you can apply to your class or to individuals. A really great feature of the Jamf Teacher application. What I'd like to do now is move us out of the individual student view, and we're actually going to be taking a look at some other features within the Jamf Teacher application. I'd like to go ahead and take a look at the lessons next. We're actually going to go ahead and create a brand new lesson together. So let's go ahead and give this new lesson a name like, I don't know, new lesson. Real creative, I know. Then let's go ahead and select which applications we want to make available in here. I'm going to go ahead and pick several applications that I want to make available during my lesson. Once I'm happy with that, I'll go back to create lesson. And I think I also want to make a link available to my students. Let's go ahead and add apple.com as a link I want to make available for them. I'll go ahead and hit add link. And then, as you can see, I have several app categories and device functionalities that I can toggle on or off depending on my lesson. In this example, I'm actually going to leave all of that on. So let's run our lesson. Go ahead and select it. We're going to select a time that we want this to run. So let's say about 15 minutes, and then choose a class that we want to apply this to. We then have all of our students that are waiting to connect. And once they have connected, they will then be brought into our lesson that we've just created for the 15 minutes that we have set ahead of time. Really great resource for any teacher that is looking to have a more organized session in the classroom. Next, let's take a look at the Messages application here within the Jamf Teacher app. This allows us to have communication with our students either on a class basis or individual basis. Let's create a new message right now. So let's go ahead and select a class. And in here, I can choose if I want individual students or the class as a whole. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and send a message to all of my students at once. So now that I have my message set up, we're going to go ahead and write a message about how we're going to start a 5-minute break. So this is plenty of time for my students to get some water, go to the bathroom, or give a stretch. I've sent my message out to all my students, and I also have the ability to toggle replies on, or in this case, I'm just going to leave that off because I don't necessarily need students to respond to the fact that we have a 5-minute break that we're now taking. The next item that I'd like to cover is My Resources. My Resources is a repository that your Jamf School administrator makes available to you as a teacher on an a la carte basis. Let's take a look to see what's inside. In here, we have applications that are not currently installed on your iPad that you can grab as you need them. We can also do the same with PDFs or ebooks, as well as certain settings that are not currently available on your iPad, but maybe you want it like a VPN setting. Again, these are all able to be downloaded a la carte as you need them as a teacher. Let's go ahead and check out another feature of the Jamf Teacher application. Let's go ahead and let's look at app updates. App updates is allowing us to have a little bit more control over the iPad. So in here, you're able to see that I have several applications that have an update available. If I wanted to, I could update these applications without needing to go into the App Store or having an Apple ID. And last, let's check out help guides. This is a must-have for any teacher that is using the Jamf Teacher application. A lot of really great resources and articles on how to use various items in this application. I definitely recommend that you take a look. Now, the last item I'd like to cover in this application are how to set up a remote class. Especially this fall, when so many of us aren't able to be learning in person, setting up a remote class is a huge feature that I would love to share with you all today. To do this, we're going to be setting up a Zoom remote class. So once you're ready, we're going to be going into the settings within the Jamf Teacher application. Hit Configure under Remote Class. And then we're going to go ahead and paste our Zoom link in here. Once we've done that, we'll go ahead and hit save. Now we have saved our remote session. Now let's go and start this class. I'll go into my classes and select a class that I want to have a remote class with. Then we'll go ahead and press the remote class button. We can then name this class and how long we want the invitation to be active for, and then who we want to invite. Now that I'm ready, I'll go ahead and hit start. It auto launches my Zoom application, and the rockin' teacher is ready to teach the class. So a really great option for anyone that is having to do distance learning this fall. So that looks great from the teacher's perspective, but how does this look on our student's iPad? I'm glad you asked, because we're actually going to be taking a look to see what that looks like. Here's a student iPad, and as you can see, they've been notified that a remote class is starting. We're going to go ahead, open the Jamf Student application, and once we've done that, we have our remote class is ready for us to pick. That auto launches my Zoom application, brings me right into the class that my teacher has started. And as you can see, my rockin' teacher showing up again, and then I'm able to see myself in the bottom corner. In this example, this student does a really great job when motivated by chicken nuggets. So as we wait for other students to join this remote class, we're able to be together just like we were in the classroom in person. So I hope this is something that excites you and is something that you're able to use in your own district. So that's everything in the Jamf Teacher application. But there is one more feature that I would like to share with you that isn't directly inside the application itself. And that feature is called App Request. Let's actually take a look to see what we can do when it comes to App Request. So here I have my teacher iPad again. So let's go into the App Store and let's request an application that we don't have available to us. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find an application called Skim Money. This is a really great application to help me save my money. So I'll go ahead and share this application, and I'm going to share it to the Jamf Teacher application. Once I've done that, it'll ask me which class do I want to request this for. I'll pick my class, and then it's going to ask which students do I want to request this for. I can choose either individual students, or in my case, I actually want to share this with my entire class. So I'm going to select all of my students. And once I've done that, I'll go ahead and go next. So I can see my application, which class I want, and then lastly, I can enter a reason why I want to request this. So I'll put in learn about saving money. And when I'm ready, I'll go ahead and hit submit. That then goes to the Jamf School administrator to either deny or hopefully approve and make available to you and your students. The other great thing with this is you're able to see the status of your app request right in your Jamf Teacher application. So that way you're not left in the dark in case your administrator is not so vocal about where your status is. So those are all the features of the Jamf Teacher application that I'd like to share with you today. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about the counterpart to the Jamf Teacher application, Jamf Student. Let's go ahead and bring up our student iPad again, and let's take a look together to see what's included in that application. I'll go ahead and launch the Jamf Student application. And in here, you're going to see that we have some familiar items. We have our messages. And let's go ahead and actually take a look at the messages in the student application. You can see that the message that we sent as a teacher shows up here with the 5-minute break. And you may also notice that I don't have the ability to respond to that message because we turned that off, if you might remember. We also have my resources, which I'm not going to go into, but it's the exact same as what we saw in the teacher app of being able to have certain apps, ebooks, or PDFs, as well as settings available. And then, of course, app updates, where I, as a student, can go and update these applications on my own without having access to the App Store or an Apple ID. That is the Jamf Student application, the counterpart to the Jamf Teacher application. At this time, I would actually like to pass it back to my co-presenter, Ashley, to talk a little bit more about the Jamf Parent application.
All right, thanks, Kelly. The Jamf Parent app is a great way to involve parents in their child's learning while providing control for the device at home. This app is an awesome asset to parents, whether your student is remote learning or just using their device at home after school hours. When a parent first downloads the Jamf Parent application, the first part of the process is to add the child's device into the app. So let's do this together, and we'll go ahead and hit Get Started in the blue bar. Of course, we have the option to manually log in using your Jamf Parent credentials that are defined by the school, but for this lab, we will add the device by scanning the QR code. Once you have your student's device in hand, please select Scan QR Code on the Parent app. The image should then appear on the parent's device when the student opens the Jamf Student application. Once recognized, you will then be prompted to confirm the addition of the child. This student's device name is 21 Student. Now that the student has been added, the device is available within the Parent app. If you have more than one child, you can manage all of their devices in this location. If you select the green icon, you'll walk through the same setup steps that we just completed to manage the other child's device. Location is another great feature within the Jamf Parent app. This gives us the ability to set up restrictions and configurations based on where the iPad physically is. For example, the rules for your child using their device might be different at a friend or grandma's house than when the child is home. In order to do this, we'll need to create a location on the device. So to begin, we're going to start by selecting Locations. Together, let's build a configuration for when the student is at home. So we'll name this location accordingly. In the name field, go ahead and enter the name as Home. All right, next we're going to set the actual location by hitting Select a Map Location. Let's imagine that we're at home right now creating this profile, which is why we select Current Location. This tells us that the device will be recognized as home when the iPad is at East 98th Street in Bloomington. Once we're all set, you can hit Save on the top right-hand corner of the screen. Back at the home screen of the Parent app, when we select 21 Student's device, we're going to notice the different options available for how you can manage the device as a parent. First, we'll enable App Lock. This allows us to lock the student into a specific app or group of apps for a set amount of time. When we select, it's a great option, for example, if the student was to be at home and you wanted to give them some iPad time to work on a school project. By allowing them to use only a handful of selected applications, they're able to focus on the work at hand and not get distracted by games or social media apps. So let's go ahead and choose a couple of the apps from the list, and feel free to select whatever you like if you're following along. Once we've selected our apps, let's change the time to 1.5 hours. Now that the profile is configured the way that we like, we'll hit Done on the top right corner. The duration of the app lock in place is conveniently listed for you, so you can track where the student's at in real time. But you also have the option to disable the app lock whenever as well in red. So here you can select Disable App Lock, and the restriction will be lifted from the student's device, even though there is technically time remaining on the restriction. This is a helpful shortcut to disable the app lock configuration if your student was able to, for example, finish her homework within the hour of the allotted time, and you now would like her to use her iPad freely. Another great feature of the Parent app is the ability to restrict device functionality. This again gives you customized options for what you want your child to have access to. So let's restrict the device functionality by selecting the option accordingly. Once it's selected, we'll be presented with a list of allowed apps on the device. At this time, you'll notice we've turned off the camera, messages, and phone application from the student's device. If you decide to grant access to these apps again, it can easily be done with the swipe of a button. So go ahead and turn these apps back on for the student's device. The child can now move forward on their device with these applications. If you're not following along with your own device in hand, let's take a look at what these last actions would look like on the child's iPad. Here on the student's iPad, you can see that all of the available applications are present. Once the app lock restriction has been assigned from the parent application, like the one we just created, you'll notice that only the apps we have assigned are now available. Once the timer runs out on the restriction, or in our case, we have disabled app lock, the apps will become available again. Device rules are also a convenient feature within the parent app. There are a few options here as to how we would like to set the rule up, including location, motion of the device, day and time, as well as ad hoc, which is what we'll use in our example. So go ahead and select ad hoc on the bottom. This pulls up a list of app categories that we can restrict. In this case, we want to focus on Safari. So we're going to scroll to the bottom and select Custom and Next. This brings us to day and time settings once we're going to select our Safari application. For this example, go ahead and turn on Monday and Thursday. For time at the bottom, we'll just leave it at 7 a.m. for start time and 5 p.m. for the end time. Once we hit Next, we will enter the name for our rule, which we'll call No Safari. Once saved, we now have a customized rule in place for our child's device. Lastly, if you want to add a temporary rule on an already configured setting, you can simply select the rule and assign how long you want to activate the rule for. This is just another nice feature that allows you to have scheduled rules in place, but options for quick configurations at the touch of a button once you hit Start. Once the application is applied, they will lose Safari until the rule expires. So now that we've completed our lab exercises together, let's review. Jamf School is a powerful, purpose-built Apple management tool designed specifically for teachers and small IT teams, with admins, the teachers, parents, and students all in mind. The Jamf School console offers an easy-to-use interface and allows admins to efficiently build out the necessary tools for the school year, as well as empowering their teachers. The Jamf School Teacher App also allows teachers to feel involved and creative while conducting their classes, whether it be in person or in remote fashion. Teachers are able to do things like request apps, chat with their students, and build out classes with just the touch of a button. The Jamf School Student app allows the student to feel responsible for their experience, while at the same time providing them with the necessary tools to be successful. Finally, the Jamf School Parent app is a great way to involve parents in their child's learning and education, while at the same time establishing some rules on how the device can be used at home. These are just a few examples of the incredible features that Jamf School and the Jamf School applications have to offer. Together, these tools allow for a collaborative and engaging experience, not only for our students and our kids, but for the teachers and staff and parents who play a huge part in making the digital experience a success. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today. I know Kelly and I both truly appreciate the opportunity to walk through Jamf School and the Jamf School applications with you. And we hope that you are leaving this lab with a better understanding of this incredible tool. So please enjoy the rest of your JNUC 2020, stay safe, and we hope to see you soon.